Neil Diamond said, "Have you ever heard a story about a frog who dreamed of becoming a king and then became one?" Well, except for the names and a few other changes, if you're talking about Leth Oun, the story is the same one. Leth was a virtual slave under the Khmer Rouge, but now protects the leader of the free world. After escaping the killing fields, transitioning through refugee camps, and adapting to life in America, Leth joined the Secret Service. A pivotal moment in his life and career came when in 2012 he escorted President Barack Obama to the land of his birth, Cambodia. Leth chronicles his life's journey in his new book, A Refugee's American Dream.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of C4 Podcast, Southeast Asian Athlete Achievement Through Adversity. And while the majority of our guests are athletes, our guest today is an amazing individual from Southeast Asia. He actually, while not being athletic, like I'm sure he had to do a lot of physical. His job was working in the Secret Service, so I'm pretty sure he had a lot of physical activity, and there just, definitely a lot of physical skill involved, and not only physical, but probably, and mental as well. But I'm sure he's had a lot more physical skill than me. I just picked up and put down weights as a living. So anyways, if you guys haven't already, please go ahead and comment, share our page, Law American Sports, on Facebook. We're on Instagram, Law American Sports, and also follow us on YouTube, Spotify, C4 Podcasts, and Law American Sports Hall of Fame. So without further ado, I'm going to let my co-host, John Messina, introduce our guests for this evening.
Yeah, hello, everybody. We are going to be diving into this book today, A Refugee's American Dream. It is the life story of Mr. Leth Oun, Secret Service agent. Most of the story is, how did he even get there? Survived the killing fields in Cambodia, adapted to America, and now protects the leader of the free world. We also have with us today Joe Samuel Starnes. Joe is Leth's co-author, and they have a history together, which we'll get into later. The two of them came together to tell this really incredible story. I had the honor of reading both Kenya Proc's book, which, if you guys, a couple episodes back, we had Kenya on, and Leth Oun's books back to back right before I went to Cambodia for the first time for the SEA Games. So before we get into the interview, I want to thank everybody who supported us in our mission to bring a contingent of Lao American athletes to the SEA Games in Cambodia. It was very successful, very fun. The swimmers didn't medal, but they did great. Highest finish for the Lao swim team in history. Our wrestler Dawson Sihavong out of Stanford University got a couple medals brought home. So overall, great experience for everybody, and thank you to everybody who supported that campaign and supported us in that mission. A lot more to come on that. So with that, we're going to go ahead and start diving into this exciting interview today. So before we get into the details of Leth's story, I just want to set the stage. Joe, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you and Leth even met and came to the point of writing the book.
Sure. Well, I'm a novelist and have been a journalist for many years. And I was, at the time, about 12 years ago, I was the editor of Widener University's alumni magazine. And it was a really slow July day. And a sociology professor who had been Leth's professor brought him by and said, "Hey, here's somebody you should write a profile of," just completely out of the blue. And, I didn't know what to expect. Usually that's somebody who made partner in their accounting firm and the university's going to hit them up for a gift. Anyway, I said, sit down. He told me his story, and it blew my mind. He was just such a remarkable, I knew a little bit about the killing fields in Cambodia. And then to go from that to the Secret Service was remarkable. So I wrote a magazine article about him, which I was never happy with. I tried to talk to the man for an hour and a half and condense his life into about 800 words, and I just couldn't get it right. So I didn't feel like we'd done a great job with it. But fortunately, he was happy with it. And he got some extra copies, and we stayed in touch. And he had told me at the time that I want to write a life story about write a book about my life story. And I said, well, you absolutely should. not thinking that one day I would be the one to help him with it. But 5 or 6, he wrote 50,000 words on his own, and 5 or 6 years later came back and, talked about what he had. And I said, the time was right for me. So that was 2017. We started meeting. Another professor from Widener, Dr. Barbara Ryan, a sociology professor Leth was close to, helped us as an editor. And like 3 or 4 hard years of work, and then a year or two looking for a publisher, and here we are with the book. So, which was published in February. And I never wanted to be anybody's ghostwriter or a co-author. It wasn't a goal of mine, but I couldn't be happier that I met Leth and I did this, because it's been transformative for me, just in my whole view of the world, and to appreciate the upbringing that I've had. So it's been a real privilege to get to know him and to work with him on this book.
Oh, exciting.
Yeah, so Leth, tell us
Yes.
about your early years. Tell us about, childhood, growing up, when and where you were born, and your experience with the Khmer Rouge.
I was born in Cambodia, Battambang City, which is the north, close to Thailand border.
Okay.
My father military, and how I met my mom was one day. My mom was based upstream, and my dad was like, "Who is this?" And I'm gonna marry her. So the Asian cultures, a woman cannot go about upstream. So later on, 1966, I was born. From there on, 8 years, 9 years, we are poor, always. My dad, the military, don't make any money. Most of the time, he deploy weeks, months, sometimes fight the battles. My mom had to take 2 jobs. She couldn't enough support us. She seamstress, rolled tobaccos, and I was a sick child. Most of the time, my mom said I was never gonna make it because how sick I was. So I grew up 3, 4 years old and went to school, and poor is poor, but we already happy life among ourselves until 1975. Of course, things changed ever since then. So my dad was last time one of the school, and he was wearing those green uniform, no shirts, with a little handkerchief around his head.
And this is after the Khmer Rouge had
after the
taken
Khmer
over.
Rouge. So I was happy until then, even my dad's not home with us all the time, but I'm still happy. My mom's here taking care of us, make sure we get fed, go to school, education, because that's what my dad always wanted me to do, go to school. He told me, be a doctor or someone can use a brain, don't have to carry a gun like this. But here I am, some years, 40, 50 years later, I tell people it's in my blood. It's in my blood, so.
Yeah. So then, we're going to leave most of the details to folks who read the book, but the Khmer Rouge takes over, upends it. Maybe just kind of tell us, whatever you're comfortable with, Leth, speaking on kind of what transpired and then ultimately how you escaped the country.
When I took my dad over there was gone, I think the second or third day, the Khmer Rouge, trying to go around, find out the males of who sold the country. I mean, sold the country by meaning like any kind of government official, government employees, teacher, professors, any high school, college. They gathered all and put in one place. And my mom was, it was like, get everybody inside the house. We don't have a house per se. Everything covered by the curtain. Get in the house, and she had one of the pictures, my dad pictured in uniform, black and white. She pulled it down, hide it. And the Khmer Rouge walked in there with AK-47, screaming, yelling at us, look for a man. But we told him we don't have any man there. My dad's, his God left us a long time ago. And that was the, things started to change ever since then. And we, kind of, it's kind of good thing that my dad's not with us, and he was with us. He's probably going to take all of us and kill us anyway. Not to refuse to know, to recognize my dad, but it's one of the things that's, so we will survive because my dad wasn't there with us. And from there on, they forced evacuate us from, from all the cities, everybody who's there. AK-47 shot in the sky and chased us. Oh, we have to go. And ever since then, we never get back home. Since
Yeah. Yeah. So, this was a very intense part of the book. Everybody, I encourage you to read it. It's a firsthand account of what happened there. I guess, Joe, what was it like writing this part of the book about the Khmer Rouge with Leth?
Well, it was, I remember the first interview we really sat down to go through what he had written and sort of expand the narrative. And it was, he saw his father for the last time, right as the Khmer Rouge came in and took over, and they turned the schools into prisons. So, and he was able to go in and see his father. So we're asking questions about this, and it was just, it was really an emotional thing to go back through. And I mean, I can't admire him enough for being willing to revisit all of these memories and, to go through that, to talk about the last time you saw your father. And, he there's a lot, hasn't seen him since, and has, tried to find out what might have happened, but there's been no, what are we talking about? 48 years later.
Yeah.
Still don't know. So he, Leth but he never complained once, and I know that at times too, there were stories like, well, when you were in the rice paddies and this happened, about what time of day was it, or how hot was it, or what month was it? And sometimes he'd go, I don't know, it was 40 years ago, but and then we would work back to the story. So, and I think, like a lot of memories, you remembered a lot of things that you hadn't thought. And I think you probably told me a lot of things that you hadn't told anybody, as we got into writing the book.
it is. It's a lot of things that I kind of remember, I don't remember. So it's put a thing in together there. I wrote at the moment what I could remember. But as I go along with Sam, and Sam keep asking questions, those things coming back. It's like one other thing. Well, when you left there, when the Vietnamese liberated the country, what you do? So I walked back, and then that's one other part I forget. I was kidnapped, interrogated at the age of 12, tied me to the chair, beat me up, put a scorpion, stung me, all kind of things like that. It's like sometimes it is so kind of painful, you don't want to remember. But in order to put in a book, put a writing, you have to put it out there to educate people, like in one of the chapters, as you said, I'm not going to die today. So always look back to those. I didn't die then. I'm not going to die tomorrow because of a little thing that happened. So Sam has brought a lot of my old memories back, the painful memories that I didn't want to remember. So he helped me a lot of those too as the questions go on. But yeah, like Sam said, we don't have clock. We don't have them. Go to school, you had to wake up your own time. And many times, you're late. And one point I would talk to Sam about it. You're probably seeing that, get up late, walk through the Cambodian national anthem and try to walk. Cops stopped me, they beat me one with a baton. So when I got to school, I get 5 lashes because I was 5 minutes late. So from there on, you kind of try to, almost set up a time, get up early. Just sometimes you're way early to go to school just to make sure. Then, I wouldn't call it punishment. It's kind of discipline. Yeah. So.
And Leth and I are 4 months apart, and he's 4 months older than I am. That's why I still have a little bit of hair left. But he, I try to think back. I don't remember what I was doing in 1976 with detail. So, it was a lot of trying to go back and remember what happened and remember details. And his memory has really been remarkable, to put it all down. And I mean, I think he thought it was an important thing to do to tell the story.
Same with
it's so true about that.
Yeah. Same with Kenya. We had Kenya on, read his book, and he said he knows you, Leth, Kenya Pratt. He wanted to tell the story to kind of give a voice to those who couldn't tell their stories because they're not here. So he felt like he has to tell the story for them.
Right.
One of the things that was eye-opening in your book, because like everybody, I read seen history books on the Khmer Rouge, saw what the killing fields or whatever. After the Vietnamese took over, I was kind of the impression that things kind of got better and everybody started going about their way. It was basically anarchy. There's no government. People are homeless. They have no homes. They lost everything. Um, and then even escaping, right? It's not like you just said, all right, now I'll walk to Thailand. There's landmines. There's rogue soldiers. I mean, just briefly tell us a little bit about the kind of the whole escape and the aftermath.
So, like you said, after the Vietnamese liberate, there's no government. Its country is so chaotic. We have so many bag of rice to survive. My mom, I was telling people today, the love of a mother from her heart is stronger than you can imagine. She back then at 59, 60 years old, but she did everything as a mother could do to make sure that the kids would get fed, the kids, survive. We got there. My mom's always go out there, do the trading, something, whatever she could. And the thing is getting worse after that. And we don't have enough rice to eat, food to eat, and pretty much vegetable. We go out there, pick up, we call it watercress from the rice paddy. It's just enough to make it to survive. So my mom heard that if you go to the borders, you can trade, you can buy something cheap, but you have to bring it back to sell. You make somewhat decent money, not to be rich. But the journey, the pathway, the travel, it's very, very dangerous in a way. Because from there, about 75 miles long, we left there with my mom. I never separate my mom. That's why my mom and I are so close. When she's gone, like half of my body was gone. My dad is too, but he's pretty much, I was so young then, I didn't do as much as with my mom, but because of mother as a woman, the strong, the love of the mother is such a strong love that you have for us. So we walked there nonstop. We couldn't get enough money. I'm sorry, not enough money. It's a food, the water, stuff like that. We have enough. Hopefully we can make it there. Sometimes we don't have that. We run out of water. Sometimes we run out of food. So middle of the waters, sometimes we drink water from the elephant footprints. It's not sanitized, not filtered. You make a cup, just, clear the algae on the top, just scoop it, you go to the next one. And many times you don't have food. We find any leaf, any grass, anything digestible just to survive. We don't have enough, steak or something. But my mom, sometimes she would give the water to me, make sure I drink before she drinks. But we got there. Sometimes it takes 3 days, 4 nights. It's a nonstop journey. We don't stop. And sometimes it takes longer, depend how the condition of the journey. Sometimes you get caught a lot of gunfights. Sometimes, people step on a landmine, get killed, so we have to move on to the next things. And I told her this morning, after so many days, 110 degrees, scorching heat, and we run out of water, a group of us walked to one of the ponds. It's water so clear, like, okay, it's clear water, everybody went there, drank the waters. I always curious about where I am. My mom's just yell at me, don't go there, there's a lot of landmine, stuff like that. So I walked up there after I drank the water. There's looked like 3 logs in the lake or the pond there. But it turned out to be a mother, a father, and a baby that I was dead there, who knows how long, the body decomposed. So I told my mom, everybody that with me, like, hey, those are not logs or wood, those are the bodies. Some of the people like throw up, some people became sick later on. But I was so fortunate that I didn't get sick, anything like that. So that's what one of the things I said, the COVID has nothing on me. So here I am. So, but the journey is bad. We've seen a lot of stuff, facing the tigers, cobra, seeing people get blown up because we have to follow each and everyone's footprints. No foot, barefoot all the time. So we have to follow everyone's footprints. And sometimes you missed it, you're dead. So when something get blown up, we have to keep on moving because then the Vietnamese is going to come down, the Khmer is going to come down. The Thai's gonna, launch all the rockets, so we have to go. Sometimes people move there, they step on the landmine, and just keep on moving. So I was so fortunate that I didn't step on the landmine and getting killed by a Thai, get eaten by a Thai, get bit by king cobra stuff. So I always think somebody's up there watching them. Probably my dad is watching me the whole time. Who knows?
Yeah. Wow. It's intense. Well, so then you finally go through the refugee camp system, which a lot of our listeners like, came like my wife, Lao refugee camps and
Okay.
and that came through the camps. Um, and were sponsored to America, kind of similar to you. You got ended up on the East Coast, but so you landed in America. Tell us a little bit about what it was like. I mean, you go from Cambodia under the Khmer Rouge, not even the normal Cambodia, to, the East Coast, dense population, big
Yeah.
cities.
The toughest thing is like when I landed, I looked around. It's not even close to the culture shock, you want to call it that way. And then people speak a different language than me. I said, how am I going to survive this country? I can't go back. I can't go back because I'm here. It's not like one of the things you buy a flight tickets, go back, and I'm done. So every morning I get up and walk around the block just to observe what's going on. I couldn't walk maybe a block just to see. And one day I told myself, start high school. One day I told myself, I told my mom the same thing. I said, if I want to live in this country, I got to learn English. That's priority. So starting high school, I went to all the summer schools, anything at all that they open, I went there. And working same time, 2-3 jobs, walk to work. Best job I have, the first one, washing dishes in a Chinese restaurant, $3,050. The greatest thing that happened, you got to imagine working 15, 16 hours a day in rice paddy. You barely have anything to eat. Now, I work not as hard as back in the communists. I think I paid 315 cents an hour. So it was the greatest thing. And my first paycheck was whatever happened. I lost a $78 first paycheck too. So it's, and from there on, I every summer I pick up 2 jobs or 3 jobs. I work 7-Eleven, McDonald's, washing dishes, grocery store, riding a bicycle, and everything in this country, it's new to me. It's like born again. It's culture is different. The way people act, it's language. So it's everything like you do born again. So I have to learn everything again. I made it through 40 years ago.
And how old were you when you came to the States?
18.
18. Okay. See, I was forced. So it was very easy. It was culture shock, but it was easily, I adapted quickly, right? I mean, I was barely speaking Lao, and all of a sudden, okay, learning the language. I'm 4 years old. You go to school. I can only imagine how, for you to be 18
Yeah.
and wow, and you're a full, you're an adult, man.
Right.
You're learning, you're starting over.
Since this is a sports podcast, tell the story about the first experience with a professional football game.
Yeah.
So we come here, and it was back then called Washington Redskins. We live in Prince George's County, and Redskin won I think it's playoff and Super Bowl then. And the firecrackers. So my mom and I was crawling under the bed and stuff. There's some more gunfire there, and we would stay under the bed the entire night. So in the morning, when people were asking me, you see this, see that, I said, what happened last night? Was somebody shooting somebody? They said, no, that's firecrackers celebrate Redskins won the playoff or won the Super Bowl. Well, that time they're like, it's like we still have. So I say, still the memories back then still there. It's still fresh there. So any crack, anything at all, like, oh my God, it's gunfire again. So
yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah.
So tell us how you got into the Secret Service. Also tell us a little bit about the Secret Service as much as you can, right? But then tell us how you got interested and what made you decide to pursue that.
So it started off like I want to try to buy it myself. Like I work with Chinese restaurant $3.15 an hour. So if I can make $3.15, why can't I try to find something $4.15? So I keep on going. So come here, Secret Service, if we Asian, we have those fortune tellers. If someone come and like, hey, tell your future what you're going to be in Secret Service, I would say, okay, stop for pulling my leg. That's not going to happen. When the Secret Service come out and say like, 6'3", 280-pound muscular and stuff like that, never think a guy, 5'5", 175, bald head, join the Secret Service. Never thought about it. So when I done my college graduate wine, I worked a little bit before that. I worked probation, juvenile probation agent in Philadelphia. Then when I graduated from Weiner, I went to work with social workers. So I said, well, if I work with social work, let me try something else. So I went to the federal building in Philadelphia. They look for correctional officers. So a correctional officer looks good. I didn't even know what it was then. I have no idea. So I put my name, my phone, social security number over there. And this is why I tell a story about when they called me to offer me a job for the Department of Justice. So Miss Beverly Primo, she called me and say, I'm looking for, this is Leth Oun. I said, that's me. Well, I'm calling from the Department of Justice. I said, well, time out. I don't owe you any taxes. So why are you calling me? She was like, listen, I'm not calling to collect taxes. They said, well, look at this person and you apply for a job with us. I said, what job is that? I said, correctional officer. I have no idea what it is. So I told her, what is correctional officer? She's like, you don't know what it is? I said, no, but it sounds good. So she had to tell me what it is. I'm like, okay, let's try. I said, I wasn't born here. I was born overseas. I told her I immigrated in this country, Cambodian refugee. She's like, oh, you're a citizen, you're good. So we went it, take a test, pass it, worked there over 3 years. Started in 1999. So when 9/11 happened, I went to Army base recruit in Philadelphia. Say, hey, I want to volunteer to go to Afghanistan. Back then, after 9/11, they need a lot of people. So back then, I was like 33, close to 34 already anyway. They kind of look at me like, hey, okay, we'll call you. So 25 years later, I'm still waiting for that phone call that we get called. So I went back to the federal building and they see, Secret Service hiring. I said, here we go again. And like, no, what's it, what could happen? What could be the worst thing happen? So I apply and apply to, become a Secret Service officer. And I told him, I said, well, I work for the Department of Justice already. I said, okay. It's like, oh, well, you're on the system, it's good. But before that, way back when I came here working Tinley Market, I ran to a couple of those guys. And
There's a convenience store in Washington.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's what I adopted the name Mark because they call me Marcos. First of all, they thought I was a Filipino. So I tell them my real name, they couldn't pronounce it. They said, well, we just call you Mark from there on. So Mark is my nickname from there on. So come to Secret Service and, applied it, went to take a test, and I had to take a test twice, So 21 years later, that's how I joined the Secret Service.
Wow, 21 years. So everybody, just to make sure everybody knows, the Secret Service is the organization that guards the president, the vice president, the first lady, any of the big VIPs in Washington.
Yes.
So if you're looking for some nice, juicy inside details, unfortunately, you've come to the wrong place. We're not gonna be, giving you any dirty laundry because it is called the Secret Service for a reason, right, Leth?
For a reason, yes.
For a reason. And obviously, he can't go into the things I'm sure some people would love to hear. But maybe just describe your job a little bit, Leth.
When I started, I was assigned first to the vice president when Dick Cheney was in the office. And first thing, they sent me to a bike patrol. I said, they asked me, do you know how to ride a bike? I said, well, I ride a bike so many times, 8, 9 miles. And, the place where the vice president is staying, it's not far from Tinley Market. So they sent me to the bike course, finish that, come back, we'll do a bike patrol. And then before the K9 comes up, they asked me again, it's like, hey, the K9 position, being a K9 handler is coming up. Do you want to work with dog? I said, I'm a dog lover. I had dogs now. I had dog before back that, you come and say, okay, well, write a memo. And so happened that the last day, the deadline that the memo has to be submitted, one of the captain lost my memo too. So I had to go back home, get the memo. So, but like I said, everything happened recent. So I was K9 almost 9 years, traveled around the world, went back home, Cambodian with President Obama, Michelle Obama, the latest one with President Biden there. Meet my sister the first time since 79. I thought she was dead, but she's alive. We meet face to face the first time there. So from a canine handler to be a canine instructor, and that's what when we start to write a book there, because it's a lot of going being a canine handler and canine instructor. You do a lot of traveling. So wherever the president, the vice president, dignitary, the head of state comes, we have to travel with them. So I want to write a book a long time ago, but the work is so busy. So here I am, 4 more months to go. I'm retired.
Oh, wow. That's and when you read the book, folks, the dog is very significant, right, in the story, Leth, because you had a dog, unfortunately, with the Khmer Rouge. You lost the dog, and then you kind of come full circle with being a dog handler. I felt kind of reconnecting there to your childhood. Yeah. I mean, what was it like going back to Cambodia? You were essentially, the last time you were there, you were like a slave and then sort of homeless. And then now you're going back guarding the leader of the free world, right?
Yes. When I got there, well, first I called my sister. I said, hey, she knew before I even got there. It's like, are you coming to Cambodia? I said, this is way back before even we know that we're going. I said, where are we going? I said, go back home. They all set up. The President Obama's coming. I said, I don't know. I don't know anything about it. So when I know for sure it's going, and then I called, I said, hey, how big is the airport? Because when my dad took it, it's a small airport, C-17-34, that ain't going to fit it, So my sister asked me, like, why did you ask it? I said, well, we get big planes. It's not just a little tiny. It's big planes. Like, how big is the plane? I said, it's big planes. I can't. So we got there and say, oh, well, and back then, Sayanu that passed away, so Chinese brought over with, big plane too. I said, oh, we got a big airplanes. I said, okay, we got a lot of big airplanes coming. I said, I don't know if it's going to fit it. So we landed, I looked around left and right, the palm tree and stuff like that. I said, somebody's going to shoot me, because when my dad took me the first time over there, first and last time there, it's nothing but rocket explosion. Came outside, my dog's in there, like, when you're going to take me out, he kind of look at me and tell me, hey, knucklehead, get me out of here quick. So I came outside, look out there, like, okay, you know what? This is 2012. It's not 1975 anymore. Nobody's going to shoot me. So I take a deep breath, smell the dust and, the trash and everything there, and humid's kicking in. I'm like, yeah, this is Cambodia, So I took my dog out. He looked at me. It's kind of like, it's about time you let me out of the kennel. He's been sitting there for, hours in there. And that's what's the first time I met my sister since 1979. So 33 years, we met face to face. And she came to look for me, and she drove around a couple of times. Somebody drove around. We looked at her. She looked at me. So finally she get off and came, started to talk to me. And then, with two adults crying each other in front of the hotel lobby there. And they're like, we can't do this. We're adults. So took it upstairs. Of course, she met my dog. Well, my dog's name is Dwight. He's bilingual also. They speak English and Cambodian. So it's job security in the way you look at it. So my dog's like, hey, what are you doing? I said, I mean, like I said, you can't lie to a judge, but you can't lie dog. Dog smell you and sense you everything. So that's the first time I met my sister in 33 years.
Wow. Yeah, that's incredible. That was a great part of the book, of how she had to be sent away for her safety into a small village. And but you guys were separated, but it's just wonderful to see that you could come back even after all these decades. He talks about how he found her in the book, and you'll have to read the book if you want those details.
Well, the book itself, I just want to add that like Sam and I, he did more work than me. Sam is like me. He knows about my life than myself. So him and I, the proceeds of the book were donated to help the Cambodian kids in Cambodia, provide some fresh water, school supplies. We were thinking of build the school that they held my father. I went there on my own to see that. We were thinking about starting to the bathroom for the boys and girls first. Because hygiene is the most important there. We start from the bathroom, like almost like American system bathroom, and then go to the library, bigger, maybe put some more books, put some more resources in there, and depend how much the proceeds we get in a book. we may even hire and tutors teach them English or something there. So the proceeds of it, again, it goes to help the Cambodia because I know grow up to be poor. I don't have any flip flops to wear to school. Pretty much walking barefoot. Can't even have a toy that costs about 50 cents. Probably say the one scavenging plastic, aluminum for just less than a penny to help my mom. So I know how to be poor. And, my 12 years, when I'm 12, 13 years old, the comedy, the Khmer Rouge robbed the childhood from me. So I grew up to be a man when I'm 12 years old. So everything taught me ever since then. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great that you guys are donating proceeds to help people in Cambodia. I just got back from Cambodia. Like I said earlier, at the Sea Games. The country's been through a lot, but to be honest, I was impressed. It is on the up.
Yes.
The level of development. You go to Phnom Penh, there are cranes everywhere. There is construction everywhere. There are condos. There are sky rises. There's an air of optimism. There's still poverty, right? It's not America.
Sure.
There's a long way to go, but it is moving in the right direction, I felt, and it is advancing and developing and probably getting better every day. But it's still, there's a long way to go, and there's a whole segment of the society that's not necessarily benefiting from all that yet, right? That people like you could help. And it starts with, education at a school. That's the next generation. So very admirable of you guys to donate some of the proceeds.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, before we wrap up, Joe, so one of the things for me about this book is that although you were poor, Leth, it starts out kind of like a normal, happy childhood. You're playing in the river. Of course, it takes a dark turn and kind of even gets worse. And then there's optimism, and then it kind of ends up with a happy story. Joe, what was the emotional ride here as you're writing this or listening to him?
Yeah, well, I think that it sort of starts or definitely has tears of sadness, but ends up with tears of joy. And the one thing that I was very fortunate, I'd never met Les' mother. I really regret. She lived to be 101, and she died in 2018. But in 2019, I guess there are three services that in the Buddhist tradition, there's a sort of a funeral shortly after the death, 100 days out.
Right.
And then 1 year, there's a big celebration. And he had that at his home, and my wife and I attended it. And it was such a remarkable thing to see all of his family and friends and just the love they had for one another. And it was really great to be there to see that and to help him. That's the epilogue of the book, is writing about sort of the family and coming together. And they haven't forgotten what they endured, but they appreciate, and they're happy. They've been able to find happiness from that. And I think another thing about the book's been out since February now, and at most of the events and the readings we've done, there will be Cambodian there, many of them who've survived the killing, and the bond that they have and the love that they have for one another is just really touching, because you can't, to have gone through that and survived, they're really strong and they appreciate and love one another. So that's been a really great part of the experience of writing this book.
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, sounds amazing so far. And like, I haven't read the book, right? So, and John knows I'm not much of a reader, but just hearing what you've, Leth, what you've been talking about, what you've been sharing, I'm compelled. I mean, to pick up and read. I hope our viewers, I hope you guys can agree. You guys will definitely do the same. Leth, when it comes to like, let's say a young kid wants to get involved with the Secret Service, what type of advice, or something similar to the Secret Service, like what type of advice would you give them? Talk like, a teenager, someone graduating high school, if they had some interest.
Go to school, aim high, work hard, and don't quit. You'll be there. It's nothing in this country, in America. Nothing. It's impossible. It might be difficult. It's a lot of difficult for me. I just said, coming here, no English, no penny to be who I am today. And also, Secret Service established in 1865. I am the first native-born Cambodian immigrant in this country to join the Secret Service, so 150 years. So if I can make it, everybody can make it as well. It's sometimes one has more difficulty than others. But if you want to get there, you'll be there. You can't run, walk, can't walk, crawl. You will be there. When I joined the service, I'm 35, 36 already. You know, kids can do it younger. I think they're accepting now 21. So keep yourself clean, go to school, you know, do what you need to do, set up a goal and move on. I mean, it's there. You know, the only thing I can say to this about parents is that, you know, we all busy growing up, you know, the parents growing older too. So I always tell kids, you know, listen to your parents, respect them. You do some good thing for them. So they only been here for so long, they be gone. And then, you know, you wish I could have done this, they gone, it's too late. You know, my mom and I, again, you know, I did a lot of everything that I possibly can help but to make sure she's happy. So, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's incredible. Great advice. So folks, please, get this book. It is a great read. To be honest, if you read this and Kenya's book back to back like I did, it's really special because you see so many similarities. I did something for Kenya. I actually I finished his book on the flight to Cambodia and I left it there in his birthland. His book's newer than yours. So it was the first copy in Cambodia. I don't know if any of yours have made it over there yet, Leth. But I regret not leaving yours there too, to be honest.
There's people want it, but there's a few people I gave the book to sign, but they want in Cambodia. Most of them don't really at the reading level yet. So we're working on that. So
it was more symbolic. He asked me to leave it for somebody more symbolic. No, even people can't read this. This is, these are hard reads. It's a long book, right? But it's more symbolic to leave it in his birthplace. Yeah.
I would like to say that on October 10th, there will be an audio book will be released.
I was just going to ask about that. Oh, nice.
It's on my birthday too.
Oh, wow.
October 10th.
Okay. That's great, folks. If you like audiobooks, grab that. Who's voicing it?
An actor named Tim Lunabus, who is an actor in San Francisco, and he's been on a number of television shows and has done a lot of stage work. So we are excited to have him doing it.
Okay. Yeah. We're excited to hear about that. So, well, yeah, guys, we appreciate you coming on. Anything else for them?
No. Great. Thank you for coming on. Great interview and, much success to you, Leth, and Joe, Sam in the future.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your time as well.
Thank you. Appreciate it. The C4 podcast is brought to you by the Lao American Sports Hall of Fame. Visit us on the web at laoamericansports.com, celebrating the first, inspiring the next.